The moment I overhear her hushed conversation, I know something's off. Amelia, my wife of 8 years, has been distant lately. Her laughter feels forced. Her once loving gaze now dances away from mine. Tonight, as I step into the hallway of our home earlier than expected, her voice, low and hurried, snakes its way through the cracked door of our bedroom. "I can't keep this up. He's starting to suspect," she whispers. The response on the other end of the line is unintelligible, but her response sends chills up my spine. "No, he'd never dare leave me. I'll handle it." Handle it? My pulse quickens. Amelia had always been the one constant in my life, the rock I leaned on during my darkest hours. Now, her words slice through me like a knife, leaving a gaping wound where trust once resided. I quietly step away from the door, masking the storm brewing inside me. My instincts scream for me to confront her right then and there, but I hold back. If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that timing is everything. Over dinner, Amelia is her usual polished self, chatting about her day as though nothing's wrong. I respond with the occasional nod, pretending to listen while my mind races. Whatever she's hiding, I'm going to find out, and when I do, she'll regret underestimating me. That night, as Amelia sleeps soundly beside me, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling. My plan begins to take shape. I'll gather every piece of evidence I need before I confront her. The truth, once revealed, will leave no room for her lies. The next morning, I leave for work as usual, but my mind is far from the numbers and charts that usually dominate my day. Instead, I replay Amelia's whispered words in my head, dissecting every nuance. "He'd never dare leave me." Was that a challenge? A taunt? Either way, it felt like she had already decided she held all the power in our marriage. As soon as I get to my office, I reach out to a private investigator. Marcus, an old friend, picks up on the second ring. "Long time, no talk. What's up?" "I need you to look into someone," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "My wife." Discreetly, Marcus lets out a low whistle. "You sure about this? Once you open this door, there's no closing it." "I'm sure," I reply without hesitation. Whatever's on the other side, I need to know. The next week is agony. Amelia continues to act normal, even affectionate, but every kiss, every laugh feels hollow. I follow the routines we've perfected over the years. Dinner at 7, TV by 9, lights out by 10. But beneath the surface, I'm burning. When Marcus finally calls back, his tone is grave. "I've got what you asked for." It's worse than I thought. My stomach twists as he recounts the details. Late-night meetups at a hotel downtown. Receipts for lavish dinners. A man, her coworker, Jason, featured prominently in photos of them holding hands and stealing kisses. It's one thing to suspect, but another entirely to see the proof. Marcus sends me everything. Photos, timestamps, even a copy of the hotel's guest log with both their names listed. I stare at the evidence, my world crumbling around me. She didn't just betray me. She flaunted it, confident I'd never find out. But the most damning piece is yet to come. Marcus managed to get a sample of Jason's DNA, and I've already sent it off for testing. If my gut feeling is right, the results will be the final nail in the coffin. For now, I play my part. I smile at Amelia, kiss her goodbye in the mornings, and hold her close at night. She thinks she's won, that I'm still blind to her lies. But she doesn't know what's coming. The DNA test results arrive faster than I expect. The email notification pings on my phone while I'm in a meeting. My hands tremble as I excuse myself, retreating to my car for privacy. The envelope icon mocks me as I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the screen. "Do it," I mutter to myself, and with a swipe, the results open. My worst fears are confirmed. Jason is the biological father of Amelia's child, our child. My vision blurs as the implications hit me like a freight train. Every moment of bonding, every sleepless night, every proud fatherly smile, all a lie. My daughter, Emily, isn't mine. For a second, I'm paralyzed by grief. Then the grief hardens into something else. Cold, calculated fury. Amelia didn't just betray me. She built a life on my love and devotion while secretly desecrating it. The rest of the day passes in a haze, But by evening, I'm laser-focused. I sit in the garage with Marcus's files and the DNA results spread out before me, forming a grim tapestry of deceit. I've gathered enough evidence to destroy Amelia's fabricated world, and I plan to do it in the most decisive way possible. Divorce papers are the next step. I reach out to my attorney, laying everything out. I want no room for negotiation, I tell her. She doesn't see a dime more than she's legally entitled to, and I want full custody. My lawyer raises an eyebrow. You're sure you want to take this to court? This could get messy. I let out a bitter laugh. It's already messy. I'm just cleaning up her disaster. As the paperwork moves forward, I prepare for the confrontation. I rehearse the scene in my head 100 times, imagining every possible reaction from her. The shock, the denial, the inevitable excuses. But this time, I'm armed with undeniable proof. The night before I serve the papers, I sit in Emily's room, watching her sleep. My heart aches, torn between the love I've always felt for her and the cruel truth of her parentage. She's innocent in all this, a victim just like me. That's why I need to fight, to ensure she grows up in a home built on honesty and respect. The next morning, with papers in hand and the DNA results tucked safely into an envelope, I wait for Amelia in the kitchen. She breezes in, humming a tune, her smile as bright as ever. The sight of her calm ignorance fuels the storm brewing within me. "Morning," she chirps, reaching for the coffee pot. "You're up early." I don't respond, just slide the envelope across the counter. "Open it." She frowns, her hand pausing mid-pour. "What's this?" "Just open it." Her expression shifts from confusion to dread as she reads the contents. Her hands tremble, and her face drains of color. What is this?" she stammers, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's the truth, Amelia," I say, my voice cold and steady. "Something you've apparently forgotten how to tell." Amelia clutches the papers, her eyes darting between the DNA test results and my unwavering glare. Her carefully constructed facade crumbles as panic sets in. This can't be right," she sputters. "There's no way." "Stop," I snap, cutting her off. "Don't insult me with more lies. I know everything, Amelia. The late nights, the hotel rendezvous, Jason. You thought you could hide it forever, didn't you?" Her mouth opens and closes, words failing her for once. I step closer, towering over her, and place the divorce papers on the counter next to the damning DNA results. "Here's how this is going to go," I continue, my voice sharp as a blade. "You're going to sign these papers without a fight. You're going to agree to the terms. And you're going to stay out of my way as I get full custody of Emily." Amelia's eyes widen, her hands clutching the edge of the counter as if to steady herself. "Wait, you can't just take Emily from me. She's my daughter. And you made me believe she was mine," I fire back. "But guess what? Legally, I've been her father since birth. You might have given her life, but I've been the one raising her. While you were out playing house with Jason, I was the one holding her hand through doctor's appointments and school projects. You don't get to rip her away from me." Her face twists in desperation, tears spilling freely now. "I was going to tell you," she pleads, her voice cracking. I didn't know how. I never meant for things to get this far." "Save it," I snap. "You weren't going to tell me anything. You were happy living this double life, letting me play the fool while you smiled and lied to my face." For a moment, silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating. I can see the gears turning in her head, searching for a way to salvage the situation. But there's no saving this. Not anymore. "Do you even love him?" I ask, my voice quieter now, but no less fierce. "Or was it just some pathetic thrill?" She hesitates, and that hesitation is all the answer I need. "It doesn't matter," I say, cutting her off before she can stammer out a response. "Your choices brought us here. And now, you get to live with the consequences." I grab my keys from the counter and head toward the door, needing to escape the suffocating tension before I lose control. Amelia calls after me, her voice shrill and frantic. "What about Emily? What are you going to tell her?" I pause in the doorway, my back to her. "I'll tell her the truth, when she's old enough to understand. Unlike you, I won't hide behind lies." With that, I slam the door behind me, the sound echoing through the house. For the first time in weeks, I feel a flicker of satisfaction. This is just the beginning. The cold November air bites at my skin as I sit in my car outside the house. My hands grip the steering wheel, knuckles white, as I try to steady my breathing. The confrontation replayed in my mind over and over. Her tears, her excuses, it's all fuel to the fire burning in my chest. I glance at my phone. Messages from Amelia flood the screen, each more desperate than the last. Please, let's talk. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. Don't take Emily from me. She's all I have left. Every message only hardens my resolve. She made her choice, and now it's my turn. I call Marcus to update him. It's done, I say. She knows. Good, he replies. Now it's time to focus on securing your case. She's not going to roll over easily. I know he's right. Amelia has always been a fighter when backed into a corner, and I've just lit a fire she can't extinguish. But I also know her arrogance. She won't believe I have the strength to follow through. That's her first mistake. Later that evening, I return home, my body tense with anticipation. As I step inside, the silence is deafening. Emily's room is dark, and I know she's still at her friend's house for the night. Amelia is nowhere to be seen. I almost breathe a sigh of relief, but it's short-lived. I find her in the living room, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine in hand. Her face is blotchy from crying, but her eyes are sharp, full of determination. You're really going through with this, she says, her voice low and steady. It's not a question. I nod. You gave me no choice. She sets the glass down and stands, crossing her arms. What happened to us, David? We used to be so good together. I loved you. I still do. Don't, I snap, my voice cutting through the air like a whip. You don't get to stand there and act like this was some inevitable breakdown. You didn't love me. You loved the convenience of me. Someone to clean up the mess while you played pretend with Jason. Her lips press into a thin line, but I can see the cracks in her composure. She's searching for a way to regain control of the narrative, but I won't let her. Do you know what the worst part is? I continue, stepping closer. It's not even about Jason. It's about Emily. You let me fall in love with her, raise her, believe she was mine. You robbed me of the truth, and you robbed her of a father who didn't have to find out like this. Tears spill down her cheeks, but I don't let them soften me. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispers. Well, you did, I reply, my voice heavy with finality. And now, I'll make sure you never have the chance to do it again. I walk past her to the stairs, needing to put as much distance between us as possible. Upstairs, I gather a few belongings, stuffing them into a bag. Tonight, I won't sleep under the same roof as her. My mind is set. Before I leave, I hear her voice from the bottom of the stairs. David, wait. I stop, but I don't turn around. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she says, her voice trembling. But Emily, she doesn't deserve to lose you. Please, think about her. Her words hit me harder than I expect. She's right. Emily doesn't deserve this. But Amelia made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. Without another word, I walk out the door, letting it close softly behind me. This is far from over. I spend the night at a nearby hotel, staring at the ceiling as the weight of everything presses down on me. Sleep is impossible. Every time I close my eyes, I see Amelia's face, hear her desperate pleas. But the image that hurts the most is Emily's smile, the pure innocence that doesn't yet know the storm that's about to break. Morning comes with no relief. I shower and dress, determined to stay focused. If Amelia thinks I'm going to break, she's dead wrong. This isn't just about betrayal anymore. It's about justice, for me and for Emily. My lawyer calls mid-morning, her tone brisk and businesslike. We've filed the papers. She'll be served within the next 2 days. I've also put in a request for an emergency custody hearing. With the DNA results, the judge should favor you. Good, I reply. What's next? We prepare for the fight, she says. Amelia has resources. She could contest the custody arrangement. You need to be ready for her to play dirty. I've already seen how dirty she can get, I say bitterly. But I'll do whatever it takes to make sure Emily's safe. After hanging up, I head to a coffee shop to meet Marcus. He's waiting at a corner table, a manila envelope in front of him. "Morning," he greets, gesturing for me to sit. "You look like hell." "Feel like it too," I admit, sliding into the chair. "What do you have for me?" He pushes the envelope across the table. More photos, more receipts. Proof of just how deep this goes. Jason's not just some fling. He's been in her life for years. I even found evidence of joint purchases. They've been building a life behind your back. My stomach churns as I flip through the contents. Photos of them together at a romantic dinner. Receipts for gifts, jewelry, trips, expensive nights out. My hands shake as I shove the papers back into the envelope. "She's not going to give up easily," Marcus continues, leaning back in his chair. "She'll fight to keep Emily, if only to save face." "She's not keeping her," I say, my voice low but firm. "She can have Jason, she can have her lies, but she's not taking my daughter." He nods, his expression serious. "Then you'll need to stay one step ahead. Use this evidence wisely, but don't let it consume you. Focus on what matters." As I leave the coffee shop, Marcus's words echo in my mind. Focus on what matters. For me, that's Emily. She's the only thing in this mess that still feels real. Back at the hotel, I call Amelia. She picks up on the first ring, her voice tight. "David, please, let's talk." "We will," I say, my tone cold. "In court." Her sharp intake of breath is audible. "You don't have to do this. We can work it out." "No, we can't," I reply. "You made your choice. Now, it's time for you to deal with the consequences." I hang up before she can respond, my resolve stealing. The path ahead is clear. It won't be easy, but I'm ready. The next morning, I get the notification. Amelia has been served. I can almost picture her face when the papers landed in her hands. The shock. The realization that this isn't just an argument we can sweep under the rug. This is war. I wait for her call. It doesn't take long. "What the hell is this, David?" she snaps as soon as I answer. Her tone is a mix of anger and desperation. "Divorce? Full custody? You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious," I reply, my voice calm. "You wanted to play games, Amelia. Now, I'm setting the rules." She's silent for a moment, likely trying to compose herself. "This isn't fair. You can't just take Emily from me. She's my daughter too." "Is she?" I ask, the words cutting like a blade. "Because according to the DNA test, she's Jason's daughter. Or did you conveniently forget about that?" "That doesn't change anything," she cries. "I've been there for her since the day she was born. She's my world, David. You can't take her away. And I've been raising her as my own while you lied to my face." I snap. "You don't get to play the victim here, Amelia. You made this mess." Her voice softens, turning pleading. "We can fix this. Please, David. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." I let out a bitter laugh. "It's too late for that. I'll see you in court." I hang up, my heart pounding. As much as I want to shut her out completely, I can't stop the memories from flooding back. The good times. The moments when I truly believed we were happy. But those memories feel hollow now, tainted by her betrayal. Later that evening, I sit down with Emily. She's back from her friend's house, her smile bright as she talks about the games they played and the pizza they ate. My heart aches knowing the upheaval coming her way, but I owe her honesty. "Sweetheart," I say, kneeling to her level, "there's something we need to talk about." Her smile fades, replaced by a look of concern. "What's wrong, Daddy?" "Mommy and we're going to be living in different houses for a while," I say gently, choosing my words carefully. "It's nothing you did, okay? This is just something between Mommy and me." Tears well in her eyes, and it takes everything in me not to break. "Are you getting a divorce?" she asks, her voice trembling. "Yes," I admit, my throat tightening. "But it doesn't mean we don't love you. You're the most important thing in the world to both of us." She throws her arms around me, sobbing into my chest. I hold her tightly, stroking her hair as my own tears threaten to fall. "It's going to be okay," I whisper, more to convince myself than her. "I promise." That night, as I tuck her into bed, her tiny hand clutches mine. "Don't leave me, Daddy," she whispers. "I won't," I assure her. I'll always be here for you. As I close her door and head to my room, I steel myself for the battles ahead. This is only the beginning, but for Emily, I'll face whatever comes. The days leading up to the court hearing are a whirlwind of preparation. My lawyer, Rebecca, is relentless, ensuring every piece of evidence is airtight. Photos, receipts, hotel logs, the DNA test, all of it forms a damning case against Amelia. I find a grim satisfaction in knowing there will be no escape for her. When the day finally arrives, I step into the courthouse with my head held high. Amelia is already there, sitting with her attorney. She looks composed, but I can see the cracks beneath the surface, the tight grip on her purse, the way her gaze flickers to me before quickly darting away. "Stay calm," Rebecca whispers as we take our seats. "Let the evidence speak for itself." The judge enters, and the proceedings begin. Amelia's lawyer wastes no time painting her as the victim, a devoted mother who made a mistake but deserves forgiveness. I grit my teeth as he glosses over her betrayal, framing her actions as a momentary lapse rather than a calculated deception. When it's our turn, Rebecca lays everything bare. The photos, the DNA results, the timeline of Amelia's affair with Jason. It's all laid out with precision. Each piece of evidence is a nail in the coffin of her credibility. Amelia shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her composure slipping as the weight of her actions comes crashing down. When Rebecca finishes, the courtroom is silent. Even Amelia's lawyer looks rattled, clearly unprepared for the depth of our evidence. The judge clears his throat, his gaze stern as he addresses Amelia. "Mrs. Hayes, the evidence presented today paints a very troubling picture. Not only have you betrayed your husband's trust, but you've also put your daughter in a precarious situation by deceiving both Mr. Hayes and the court about her parentage. This is a serious matter." Amelia's voice trembles as she responds. "Your Honor, Enough," the judge interrupts, raising a hand. "We will address custody arrangements after a full review of the evidence. For now, I am granting Mr. Hayes temporary custody of Emily, pending the outcome of this case." Amelia gasps, her hand flying to her mouth as tears stream down her face. I feel a surge of vindication, but it's tempered by the realization that this is only the first step. The battle is far from over. As we leave the courtroom, Amelia catches up to me in the hallway. "David, please," she begs, her voice breaking. "Don't take her from me. She's all I have." I turn to face her, my expression cold. "You should have thought of that before you tore our family apart." Rebecca steps between us, guiding me toward the exit. "Don't engage," she murmurs. "Let the court handle it." I nod, forcing myself to keep walking. As the courthouse doors close behind me, I take a deep breath. The weight of the day hangs heavy on me, but for the first time in weeks, I feel a sliver of hope. The drive home is quiet, the weight of the courtroom seemed pressing heavily on my chest. Amelia's tears, her desperate pleas, and the judge's words replay in my mind like a haunting echo. It feels like a small victory, but it's not enough. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about ensuring Emily grows up in a stable, honest home, one free from the lies Amelia spun. When I arrive at school to pick Emily up, her face lights up the moment she spots me. "Daddy!" she shouts, bounding into my arms with an energy that momentarily dissolves my tension. I hug her tightly, relishing the innocence and joy she exudes. "Hey, sweetheart," I say. "How was school today?" "It was great. We had our class, and I made you something." She digs into her backpack and pulls out a crayon drawing of the two of us holding hands under a sunny sky. A simple, pure gesture. My throat tightens, but I manage a smile. "It's beautiful," I tell her. "We're putting this on the fridge as soon as we get home." As I drive, she talks nonstop, recounting her day with the kind of enthusiasm only a child can muster. For a while, I let her chatter fill the car, drowning out my darker thoughts. Her laughter, her joy, they're reminders of why I'm fighting so hard to protect her from the fallout of Amelia's choices. That evening, as I tuck her into bed, her wide, innocent eyes fix on mine. "Daddy, why is Mommy so sad?" The question hits me like a blow, but I force a gentle smile. "Mommy's going through a hard time, sweetheart. But she loves you, and so do I. She seems satisfied with the answer and nods. Okay, I love you too, Daddy. As she closes her eyes and drifts off to sleep, I sit by her bedside for a moment longer, watching her small chest rise and fall. She doesn't deserve any of this. The lies, the tension, the impending battles. She deserves a life of stability and love, and I intend to give her that, no matter what it takes. The next morning, I meet Rebecca at her office. She's already deep in preparation for the upcoming custody hearing, files and evidence spread across her desk. She wastes no time diving into the details. Amelia's lawyer filed a motion to contest the temporary custody order, she says without looking up. They're claiming you're using the DNA results to alienate Emily from her. I scoff, the absurdity of the claim fueling my anger. Alienate her? Amelia did that herself when she decided to lie about who Emily's father is. Rebecca nods. Exactly. But the court will want to see proof that you're acting in Emily's best interests, not just retaliating. We need to stay focused on what matters. What's the plan? I ask. She begins outlining the strategy. We'll present the DNA results, evidence of the affair, and proof of the financial instability she's caused by funneling money into accounts with Jason. All of this paints a clear picture of her prioritizing her own desires over Emily's well-being. I nod, steeling myself for the battles ahead. What about Jason? Can we bring him into this? Absolutely, Rebecca says. He's the biological father, which gives him responsibilities. If Amelia wants to fight, we'll subpoena him. The thought of confronting Jason fills me with a mix of dread and determination. He's been the shadow lurking at the edges of my life for years. It's time to drag him into the light. Later that day, as I sort through the files Rebecca provided, my phone buzzes. It's a message from Amelia. We need to talk. For Emily's sake. I stare at the screen, debating how to respond. Ignoring her would be satisfying, but Rebecca would tell me to keep communication open. Reluctantly, I type back. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. Name the place. Her response comes quickly. The park by the lake. Noon. I set the phone down, my jaw tightening. Whatever she wants to say, I'll be ready. The next day, I arrive at the park a few minutes early, Emily's small hand in mine. The lake glistens in the midday sun, the tranquil setting a stark contrast to the storm of emotions churning within me. Bringing Emily might seem risky, but I know her presence will temper the conversation. Amelia won't want to unravel in front of her. Amelia is already there, sitting stiffly on a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree. Her face looks worn, her usual composure replaced with something raw. When Emily sees her, she squeals, breaking away from me to run toward her mother. Amelia's face softens, and for a fleeting moment, I see the woman I once loved. "Mommy!" Emily cries, throwing herself into Amelia's arms. They hold each other tightly, and I keep my distance, watching from a few feet away. Amelia's gaze flicks up to meet mine. There's a sadness there, but also determination. "Thank you for coming," she says after a moment, her voice quiet but steady. "I didn't do it for you," I reply flatly, gesturing toward Emily. "She deserves time with both of us, no matter what's happening." Amelia flinches, but recovers quickly. She strokes Emily's hair, holding her close. "Sweetheart, why don't you go play by the swings for a little while? Mommy and Daddy need to talk." Emily hesitates, looking between us. "Are you gonna fight?" "No," Amelia says quickly, forcing a smile. "We're just talking. Go on, now." Reluctantly, Emily heads to the swings, glancing back a few times. When she's out of earshot, Amelia stands, facing me with a mixture of defiance and vulnerability. "This doesn't have to get uglier than it already is," she says. "We can work something out, something that's best for Emily." "What's best for Emily is a stable home, with parents who put her needs above their own," I reply, my voice colder than I intend. "That's what I'm fighting for." She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you, but I've always been a good mother. Emily loves me, and she needs me." "She needs honesty," I counter. "She needs security. You shattered both the moment you started lying about who her father is." Her face crumples, but she doesn't cry. Instead, she meets my gaze head-on. I didn't plan for any of this, David. I never wanted to hurt you, or Emily. I got lost. And Jason, don't. I cut in sharply. Don't say his name. Don't even bring him into this. He doesn't belong in this conversation. Amelia presses her lips together, nodding. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. But please, don't let that anger ruin what we've built for Emily. She needs both of us. The sincerity in her voice is almost enough to shake me, but I remind myself of the betrayal, the lies, the years of deception. I shake my head. This isn't about anger, Amelia. It's about consequences. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them. Before she can respond, Emily's voice rings out from the swings. Mommy, come push me. Amelia hesitates, looking at me as if asking permission. I nod toward the swings, and she walks over, leaving me to stew in my thoughts. Watching them together, I can't help but feel the weight of everything that's at stake. Emily deserves more than this fractured reality. She deserves the truth, no matter how messy it is. When Amelia returns, her expression is softer, less combative. If you're going to take this to court, then I'll fight for her. But I hope we can find a way to avoid putting her through that. I fold my arms, my resolve firm. That depends on you. If you want to avoid a court battle, then sign the custody agreement. Give Emily the stability she needs. Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, but she doesn't respond. After a moment, she turns and walks toward the parking lot, leaving me alone by the lake. Emily runs back to me, her laughter echoing through the park. As I lift her into my arms, I know one thing for certain. No matter how hard this fight gets, I won't stop until she has the life she deserves. A week passes after the meeting at the park, and the tension is palpable. Amelia hasn't signed the custody agreement. Her silence feels like the calm before a storm. My lawyer, Rebecca, assures me that our case remains strong, but I can't shake the feeling that Amelia is plotting her next move. The confirmation comes one morning when Rebecca calls, her voice sharp with urgency. David, Amelia's lawyer, just filed a countersuit. She's demanding joint custody and claiming you're using the DNA test to alienate Emily from her biological father. My grip tightens on the phone. Jason? Yes, Rebecca says. She's naming him in the suit, claiming that he should have the right to establish paternity if the court deems it necessary. The room spins for a moment. This isn't just a fight for custody anymore. It's a direct challenge to my role as Emily's father. Can they do that? I ask, struggling to keep my voice steady. They can try, Rebecca replies. But you've been Emily's legal father since birth. The court isn't likely to rip that away without substantial evidence that it's in her best interest. Jason isn't even in her life, I say, anger rising. He's a stranger to her. That's our argument, Rebecca says firmly. But Amelia's move complicates things. If Jason gets involved, this could drag out for months. The thought of Jason stepping into Emily's life ignites a fire in me. I won't let him waltz in and claim her like she's some prize to be won. What do? We fight back, Rebecca says. I'll file a motion to dismiss their countersuit. In the meantime, I suggest preparing for the possibility of a deposition. They'll want to paint you as unstable or vindictive. Let them try, I reply, the determination in my voice hard as steel. I've done nothing but love and protect Emily. They won't find anything to use against me. Rebecca's confidence steadies me, but the call leaves me simmering with frustration. Amelia's desperation to cling to her narrative is putting Emily in the crossfire. I can't let that stand. Later that day, I drive to the office where Jason works, my resolve growing with every passing mile. Confronting him isn't part of the legal strategy, but I need answers. I need to look the man in the eye and understand what kind of person he is. When I arrive, I park across the street and watch the building for a few minutes, my heart pounding. I spot him walking out, his confident stride and tailored suit confirming everything I hate about him. He looks like the kind of guy who takes what he wants without a second thought. I step out of the car and cross the street, intercepting him before he can reach his car. Jason, I call, my voice sharp. He turns, surprise flickering across his face before it settles into an irritatingly calm expression. David, right? That's me, I reply, stopping a few feet away. We need to talk. He raises an eyebrow, leaning casually against his car. I assume this is about Emily. Don't play coy, I snap. You've known about her for years, haven't you? His smirk fades slightly, but he doesn't deny it. Amelia told me early on, yes, but she said it was best to let things be. You were a good father, and I wasn't going to disrupt that. My blood boils at his nonchalant tone. So you just sat back and let me raise your child while you carried on your little affair? It wasn't like that, he says, his voice hardening. Amelia and I don't care what you and Amelia had, I interrupt. What I care about is Emily. She doesn't know you, and she doesn't need to. Stay out of this. Jason's jaw tightens, his confidence wavering. I'm not trying to take her from you, David, but if Amelia thinks it's best for Emily to know the truth, then I'll support her. The truth? I echo bitterly. The truth is you're a homewrecker who has no place in my daughter's life. Jason opens his mouth to respond, but I cut him off. Stay out of this, or I'll make sure the court knows exactly what kind of man you are. I turn and walk away, my hands clenched into fists. This battle is far from over, but I've made one thing clear. I won't let Jason or Amelia dictate the terms of Emily's future. The following days feel like a ticking time bomb. I know my confrontation with Jason won't stop Amelia or her lawyer from pressing forward with their countersuit, but at least I've made my stance clear. I've prepared for the fallout, steeling myself for whatever dirty tactics they might use. Rebecca calls again with updates. David, their case is built on emotion rather than fact, she begins. They're arguing that Emily deserves to know her biological father. We'll counter by emphasizing stability and continuity. The court won't favor disrupting her life unnecessarily. Jason said he's not trying to take Emily. I say, the bitterness clear in my voice. But he's supporting Amelia's plan. It's just another layer of manipulation. Exactly, Rebecca agrees. We'll focus on your role as Emily's father, the one who's been there every day of her life. Amelia's actions show instability, and Jason's sudden interest looks opportunistic at best. The court will see through it. Still, doubt gnaws at me. I know the legal system doesn't always deliver justice the way it should. What if the judge gives Amelia and Jason more ground than they deserve? What if they take Emily away? That evening, Emily sits at the kitchen table, humming a tune as she colors. Her presence is a reminder of what I'm fighting for. I watch her, a fierce determination building in my chest. Losing her isn't an option. When the day of the deposition arrives, I sit across from Amelia and Jason in a sterile conference room, lawyers on either side. Amelia looks composed, but I can see the strain behind her calm facade. Jason, on the other hand, seems overly confident, like he's used to getting his way. The opposing lawyer starts with the usual questions, trying to paint me as vengeful. Mr. Hayes, would you say your actions in seeking full custody are motivated by anger toward your wife? My actions are motivated by Emily's best interests, I reply evenly. She needs stability, and I've provided that since the day she was born. The lawyer presses on. Do you think denying her a relationship with her biological father serves her best interests? She has a father, I say firmly. I've been her father. Blood doesn't define that. Love and commitment do. Jason shifts uncomfortably in his seat, but he doesn't speak. Amelia avoids my gaze, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Rebecca steps in, dismantling their argument piece by piece. She highlights Amelia's deception, Jason's absence, and my unbroken role in Emily's life. By the time the deposition ends, the opposing lawyer looks flustered, and Jason's confidence has noticeably dimmed. Outside the conference room, Amelia approaches me, her expression pleading. David, please. Can't we find a way to work this out without dragging it through the courts? For Emily's sake? For Emily's sake? I echo, my voice low and cold. You had years to put her first, Amelia. You didn't. Now, it's my job to clean up the mess you made. She flinches, her eyes filling with tears, but I don't let myself waver. This isn't the time for sympathy. Jason steps forward, as if to intervene, but Rebecca places a firm hand on my arm, guiding me toward the elevator. Let's not give them anything they can use against you, she whispers. I nod, forcing myself to calm down. The fight is far from over, but today, I've held my ground. As the elevator doors close, I focus on the image of Emily's smile. She's my anchor, the reason I'll see this through to the end. The days following the deposition feel like a surreal waiting game. Every moment is laced with tension, every thought weighed down by the looming custody hearing. Rebecca assures me that the deposition went in my favor, but I know how unpredictable family court can be. Amelia has yet to back down, and Jason's involvement has only muddied the waters. I focus my energy on Emily, trying to shield her from the chaos as much as possible. We spend our evenings building puzzles, baking cookies, and reading bedtime stories. Each laugh, each hug is a reminder of why I'm fighting so hard. She deserves a life untouched by Amelia's deceit or Jason's opportunism. One night, as I tuck her into bed, Emily looks up at me with wide, curious eyes. "Daddy, do I have to pick who I live with?" The question takes me by surprise, and I feel a pang of guilt that she's even thinking about this. I kneel beside her bed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No, sweetheart, that's not something you have to worry about. Mommy and I are working to make sure you're happy and safe." Her brow furrows, and she bites her lip. "But I heard Mommy say she's sad because you don't want me to live with her." I take a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Mommy loves you, and I love you. Sometimes grown-ups don't agree on what's best, but everything we're doing is because we care about you." She nods slowly, her little hand reaching for mine. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too. More than anything," I whisper, kissing her forehead. As she drifts off to sleep, I sit by her bedside, the weight of her words heavy on my chest. No matter how this ends, I need to protect her from feeling torn between us. The next morning, Rebecca calls with an update. The judge has reviewed the initial filings and the deposition. We're scheduled for the final custody hearing next week. The news is both a relief and a new source of anxiety. The end is in sight, but the stakes couldn't be higher. "What's our next move?" I ask. "We stick to the facts," Rebecca replies. "The DNA test, Amelia's pattern of deceit, your consistent role as Emily's father. It's all in your favor. The judge will prioritize what's best for Emily, and you're the one who's been providing that." Her confidence bolsters me, but I know better than to underestimate Amelia. She's desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things. Later that day, I receive an unexpected call from Jason. I hesitate before answering, unsure of what to expect. His tone is surprisingly subdued. "David, I think we need to talk." "I don't see what there is to talk about," I reply coldly. "Look, I get it," he says. "You don't want me involved, and I don't blame you. But this isn't just about you and me. It's about Emily." "You've had years to care about Emily," I snap. "Why now?" He sighs. "Because Amelia's dragging me into this, and I don't want to make things worse for her, or for you. Maybe there's a way we can find common ground." I grip the phone tightly, my anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "If you really care about Emily, you'll stay out of this." "I'm not trying to take her from you," Jason insists. "But I think she deserves to know the truth someday." "Someday," I echo, "when she's old enough to understand. Not now. Not like this." The call ends with an uneasy truce, but the conversation leaves me on edge. Jason's involvement complicates everything, and I can't shake the feeling that he has his own agenda. As the custody hearing approaches, I brace myself for whatever twists may come. The day of the custody hearing arrives, and the courthouse feels colder than it should. I sit at the plaintiff's table with Rebecca, my mind racing with every possible outcome. Across the room, Amelia and Jason sit together, their expressions unreadable. It's a strange sight, Amelia's defiance tempered by Jason's calculated calm. The judge enters, his presence commanding the room's attention. He's an older man, his stern face framed by thick glasses. He addresses us in a tone that brooks no nonsense. "This hearing will determine custody arrangements for Emily Hayes. The court's sole focus is her well-being." Rebecca opens with a clear, concise statement of our case. "Your Honor, my client, David Hayes, has been the sole stable presence in Emily's life since birth. Despite recent revelations regarding her biological parentage, Mr. Hayes has raised Emily with love, consistency, and unwavering commitment. We contend that maintaining this stability is in her best interest. Amelia's lawyer counters with a narrative spun from desperation. Your Honor, while my client acknowledges past mistakes, she remains a loving and devoted mother. Denying her joint custody would unfairly punish both her and Emily, who deserves a relationship with both of her parents and her biological father. Jason doesn't speak yet, but his mere presence adds weight to their argument. I glance at Rebecca, who gives me a reassuring nod before presenting the evidence. Photos of Amelia and Jason together, bank statements proving secret accounts, and most importantly, the DNA results. Your Honor, Rebecca concludes, while Mrs. Hayes claims to act in Emily's best interest, her actions suggest otherwise. She has prioritized her affair and deception over her daughter's stability. Mr. Hayes, on the other hand, has provided Emily with a nurturing, consistent home environment. The judge reviews the documents carefully, his expression unreadable. Then, to my surprise, he invites Jason to speak. Mr. Callahan, as the biological father, do you have anything to add? Jason stands, his usual confidence replaced with something more subdued. Your Honor, I never intended to disrupt Emily's life. Amelia and I made mistakes, but my priority now is to support what's best for Emily. I don't want to replace David as her father. I just want her to have the opportunity to know the truth when the time is right. His words, while measured, strike a nerve. I clench my fists under the table, resisting the urge to respond. Rebecca places a calming hand on my arm, a silent reminder to stay composed. The judge turns to Amelia. Mrs. Hayes, do you believe your actions have demonstrated a consistent prioritization of your daughter's well-being? Amelia hesitates, her confident facade cracking. I know I've made mistakes, Your Honor, but I love Emily, and I believe she needs both her parents. The judge nods, his expression neutral. Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. The court will now deliberate. As the judge leaves the room, the tension is suffocating. I glance at Amelia, who looks uncharacteristically vulnerable. Jason avoids my gaze entirely. Rebecca leans over, whispering, "We've presented a strong case. Stay calm." The wait feels endless. I watch the second hand on the courtroom clock tick by, each movement amplifying my anxiety. This isn't just about winning or losing. It's about Emily's future. I've done everything I can to fight for her, but now, her fate is in the hands of a stranger. The judge returns, and the room falls silent. He takes his seat, his expression unreadable. After reviewing the evidence and testimony, this court has reached a decision. My heart pounds as I brace for the verdict. The room is so quiet I can hear the faint ticking of the courtroom clock. The judge adjusts his glasses, shuffling a stack of papers on his desk as everyone waits with bated breath. Amelia's eyes flicker to me for a moment, her usual defiance gone. Jason sits stoic, but I can see the tension in his jaw. For me, the moment stretches into eternity. After careful consideration of the evidence and the testimony provided, the judge begins, his voice steady and deliberate. The court's primary concern is Emily's stability and well-being. It is clear that Mr. Hayes has been a consistent and devoted father to Emily throughout her life, providing her with a stable home and emotional support. Relief begins to creep in, but I keep my composure, unwilling to celebrate prematurely. While Mrs. Hayes's actions demonstrate lapses in judgment, the court acknowledges her role as Emily's mother. However, the evidence suggests that her decisions have, at times, prioritized personal interests over her daughter's stability. As for Mr. Callahan, his intentions may be well-meaning, but his involvement at this stage of Emily's life would be disruptive and is not in her immediate best interest. Jason's face hardens, his calm facade cracking ever so slightly. Amelia looks down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Therefore, the judge continues, this court awards Mr. Hayes primary physical custody of Emily. Mrs. Hayes will retain visitation rights, contingent on a structured schedule agreed upon by both parties. As for Mr. Callahan, the court does not grant him parental rights at this time, though he may petition for future consideration under appropriate circumstances. I exhale slowly, the weight of the decision settling over me. It's not a complete victory. Amelia still has visitation, but it's enough. Emily's home, Her stability is secure. The judge's voice softens as he addresses Amelia directly. Mrs. Hayes, I urge you to use this time to rebuild trust with your daughter. The choices you make moving forward will determine the strength of your relationship with her. Amelia nods, her face pale but composed. She glances at me briefly, her expression unreadable. Jason stands stiffly, avoiding my gaze entirely. The judge wraps up the proceedings with formalities I barely register. As the courtroom empties, Rebecca squeezes my shoulder. You did it, David. This is a huge win. It's not just a win, I say quietly, watching Amelia gather her things. It's a chance to protect Emily. Amelia approaches me cautiously, her steps hesitant. David, she begins, her voice soft. I know I've lost a lot, but I want you to know, I'm going to do better. For Emily. Her words sound sincere, but I've learned not to trust her so easily. That's up to you, Amelia, I reply. But I won't let her get hurt again. She nods, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, then turns and walks away. Jason lingers for a moment before following her out, his posture stiff. As I step outside into the crisp afternoon air, Emily's face fills my mind. This isn't just a legal victory. It's a promise to her that I'll do everything in my power to give her the life she deserves. The fight isn't over, but for now, I've secured what matters most. The sun is setting as I pull into the driveway, the orange and pink hues of the sky casting a warm glow over the house. Emily's laughter echoes from the backyard, a sound that feels like home. She's with my sister, who's been helping out during these tense weeks. As I step out of the car, she spots me and runs toward me, her arms outstretched. Daddy, she cries, her smile brighter than the sunset behind her. I kneel to catch her, lifting her into my arms. Hey, kiddo, did you have fun with Aunt Kelly? She nods enthusiastically. We baked cookies, and I saved you one. Just one. I tease, tickling her sides. She giggles, squirming in my arms. Maybe two. We head inside, the scent of freshly baked cookies greeting us. Kelly stands in the kitchen, her hands dusted with flour. She gives me a knowing smile, her eyes full of pride. Welcome home, big brother. Looks like you've had a long day. It's been a long couple of months, I admit, setting Emily down. But today, it feels like it was all worth it. Kelly nods, handing me a cookie. She's lucky to have you. As Emily disappears into the living room to play with her toys, Kelly leans against the counter, her expression softening. How's Amelia taking it? She's not happy, but I think she's starting to accept it, I say. She has visitation rights, and I want to keep things civil for Emily's sake. But I made it clear, I won't tolerate any more lies or games. Kelly arches an eyebrow. And Jason? I shake my head. He's out of the picture for now. The judge didn't grant him any rights, but who knows what the future holds. I'll deal with it if and when it happens. The conversation is interrupted by Emily's voice. Daddy, come play with me. Kelly smiles, giving my arm a squeeze. Go. She's been waiting for this moment all day. I join Emily in the living room, where she's set up an elaborate tea party for her stuffed animals. She hands me a tiny teacup and a plate with an imaginary slice of cake. You're the guest of honor, Daddy, she declares. Wow, I'm honored, I say, playing along. Her laughter fills the room, washing away the stress of the past weeks. In this moment, nothing else matters. Later, as I tuck her into bed, she looks up at me with sleepy eyes. Daddy, are you happy? Her question catches me off guard, but I nod. I am, sweetheart. As long as I have you, I'm happy. She smiles, her eyes drifting closed. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, I whisper, brushing her hair back and kissing her forehead. As I close her door, a sense of peace settles over me. The road ahead may still have challenges, but tonight, I know I've done right by Emily. She's safe, loved, and surrounded by stability. That's all I could ever hope for. The battle is over, but life is just beginning. And for the first time in a long time, I feel ready to face it, one step at a time, with Emily by my side. Thank you for staying with this story. If you've ever fought for what truly matters, I'd love to hear your experience. Share your thoughts below, And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.